At around 11:30 in the evening, they were all calling me, proceed to Bamban. I said, what's happening? People are escaping. When we arrived there, I just informed my personnel to just draw their guns and make sure that nobody got out of the compound.
来，这很多员工很多车啊，还有警车，你没看到吗？真的有车，真的。小朋友们往那边走吧。
然后1点左右，我就外面就听到喊，这里当地警察，让他们出来排队啊，这样就突击了。
Nung nag-raid po dito sa bayan ng Mambal, nabigla po kami. Nabigla kami dahil parang gerang pumunta dito.
Nakatagda i-deport pabalik sa China ang may 100 dayuhan na nahuli sa sinalaki na POGO hub sa Bamban, Tarlac noong Marso.
Front daw ng mga ito ang pagiging POGO workers pero mga scammer pala.
POGO stands for Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators. They offer gambling services online to people overseas, particularly in China. Many scam centers used POGOs as a front for human trafficking and money laundering. But the layers of lies and deceit in this case is really shocking.
Mga 40 million peso villa na meron pang sariling wine cellar ang bubungat sa gated community na ito sa Bamban, Tarlac.
Underground tunnels connecting multi-million peso villas were also found in the compound.
I knew how huge the operation was. I just didn't realize that it was going to be the mayor who was going to be the biggest catch.
Mga assistants, nakahanda na ba kayo? Ready na? Ready na kami. Let's go!
I just saw it as a small town mayor, probably on the take from POGO bosses. But I didn't realize that it was bigger than what I initially thought.
Ako po ay isang Filipino. Mahal ko po ang sarili ko pong bayan, sarili ko pong bansa.
Simula nga po nung nagkaisip na ako, nagbinata, na nasa Bamban kami. Ang mga tao dito sa Bamban, karamihan mga magsasaka. Wala namang masyadong hindi magandang nangyayari. Simple lang ang mga tao. Una namin makilala si Alice Guo, yun nga. Siguro kasi 12, parang tingin ko 12 taon pa lang siya noon eh. Pinatawag yung mga tanda, mga senior citizen dito, para bigyan kami ng relief, pamasko. Pinagyayakap na yung mga matatanda. Mabait siya.
Doon ko yung pangpalaya namin doon. Katabing, ayan, binili yung kuwan ko. Yung grupang konti. Yung sinipul ko. Yun, nakilala ko. Kaganda. Dito kuwan. Kung yung lupa ko, punta dyan. Naligo dyan. Dito, wala ko lang sa resang biyabas. Ba't mo kain ng biyabas? Ay.
Noon nakilala ko siya, around 14 years old. Alice, meron silang poultry, babuyan, na tinetrain ng daddy niya sa business.
Nandito naman po tayo ngayon sa chicken farm natin. At dito po sa chicken farm natin, makikita nyo po ngayon medyo konti na lang yung eggs na dito sa tray kasi medyo pahapon na po. Pag umaga po, mas punong-puno po sila. Meron po tayo dito 130,000 heads po na chicken.
Yung binili niya sa amin, farmer yun, ng baboy. Tapos yun, pinuntaan si nanay sa Arab.
Nabay siya.
Na ano si nanay, pinuntaan. Na sinabi niya nga, tatakbo siya ng ganon, mayor.
Nung tumakbong mayor si Alice at ako ay Sangguniang Bayan member, noong 2022. Ang ginawa naming pangangampan sa kanya dahil hindi pa masyado kilala dito sa Alice, ilan pa lang may kakilala sa kanya. Ang ginawa namin, 3 months before, lumalabas na siya, tuwing umaga, naglalakad, parang house to house, nagdadala kami ng mga lugaw. Ang pagkakita ko doon sa helicopter, nung proclamation rally namin noon, siyempre, nagkagulo yung mga tao dahil hindi alam kung sinong nakasakay. Nung nakita nila si Alice, hiyawan na yung si Alice pa lang nakasakay doon sa
Maraming salamat po sa suporta ninyo sa buong team po ni Alice Guo. Gusto ko po sabihin sa inyo, mahal na mahal ko po kayo lahat.
Masaya dahil nakasama namin si Alice. At least magbabago na naman ang Bamban. May bagong leader na tutulong sa bayan namin.
Bawi po ako sa inyo sa victory party. Sa victory party, babawi ako.
Aking itataguyod
at ipagtatanggol ang saligang batas ng Pilipinas na tunay na mananalig at tatalima ako rito
the first ever Lady Mayor of the Municipality of Bamban. Mayor Alice Guo.
Nakita namin yung kanyang panunungkulan na talagang napakaganda. Nung si Alice Guo lang ang dumating, nagkaroon ng Jollibee. Noon, walang kung dito, walang mga pagkain na ganyan. Yun, pagbabago, yung lahat ng pinangako niya doon sa kampanya niya ay nagawa niya. Pinailawan niya yung buong bayan ng Bamban, nagkairang ng maraming, naging maliwanag. At saka yung hospital na birthing station, emergency hospital, na ipatayo. Tapos sabi niya, mga investor, andar na. Yun nga, umandar na yung POGO na may nagtatrabaho na doon sa housekeeping.
We actually started investigating the phenomenon of POGOs in 2019. Ours was the first investigation on the social problems and abuses surrounding offshore gaming enterprises in the Philippines. So fast forward to 2022, we got a phone call by a woman. She told us that she and a number of Filipinos were forced to operate love scams in Myanmar. That was just the start because it became clear to us that these operations were across the region. It was a pattern. It was a self-contained, very modern group of buildings in the middle of nowhere. And then there would be a building that would be used as dormitory and another building that would be their workplace. It would have karaoke and a number of small food outlets. And then while we were investigating that, it came to our attention that the POGOs here were also being used as scam compounds.
I have been covering banking and financial crime for 10 years. In recent years, we are seeing more and more cases linked to scam compounds. There were many types of scams. Some of the scammers were told to deceive women, pretending that they love that person and try to get as much money from the person. There's also official impersonator scam, where scammers pretend to be a government official to trick victims for money. It is all connected, where Singapore and many rich countries, people are scammed, and the scammers would use people from emerging countries to work. Unfortunately, people who work at scam centers are victims themselves. Many have been tricked.
I 来自马来西亚，然后28岁。我就是学历不是说很高，小学毕业，也没想那么多，就找份工，稳稳定定就好。我之前是在迪拜，在迪拜还过来菲律宾的。其实大致上是说，就是网络赌博，就是 online casino。那时候就学了客服嘛，过去上班嘛，那时候是农历新年嘛。其实是我自己过去的，就是朋友给个地址，然后也很久没见面嘛，然后就过个年嘛，就是过来吃个饭。那时候就让我过去等一下，然后我就上宿舍等一下，然后他就突然间就消失了。然后当时那边的那个行政把我带到公司上面，然后给我说明这些情况，就是说朋友把你留在这里了，然后就让我必须在那边上班。那边保安都是带着枪支的，就是他会给你一个那个目录嘛，就是目录他会跟你说，就是说里面就是怎么去诈骗，怎么去聊客源啊，怎么去维护啊，就投资类似投资诈骗，就是简说就是他们说是造梦嘛，然后10点上班，然后可能业绩不达标或者怎么样的话，我们必须要加班可能加班到1点多2点。可能就是业绩不达标啊，或者怎么样的，都是会有惩罚。那时候就被揍了一顿嘛，然后就继续说，然后就是说这次算轻的，然后可能越久还是没业绩的话，可能就是不同刑法。
You see a good number of Filipinos and foreign nationals getting into POGOs, not knowing that they are being recruited to become scammers. And that's the most benign form of human trafficking associated to POGOs, because the worst are the violent types. You've seen tortures, killings, murders, name it. Baofu Compound is basically the largest Philippine offshore gaming operation outside of Metro Manila. Baofu is the corporation that controls the land. We received a report from the intelligence component of the armed forces. They informed us of tortures being conducted inside this particular location inside Bamban. I was trying to find a legal avenue to be able to get into the compound. Then our Vietnamese national was able to escape from Bamban.
Because they treat me so bad and I don't want to be a scammer. They beat me. They use hand and electric shock, high voltage. I climb on the top of the wall and I jump out the wall. And I running for the second one and I jump the river and keep running.
He was looking for a chance to escape. But then a security guard noticed that he was looking around, and the guard pointed a gun at him. At that point, he found an opening and he jumped and landed on an adjacent farm. The farm owner took shelter of him.
I will help you. I will
Later, the Vietnamese victim was taken to the local police station to sign a statement that he wouldn't complain against the company, which he refused.
That was purely hogwash. So they were trying to cover up the crimes happening inside. I went to Bamban to secure that Vietnamese national. They tried to take him from me. Fortunately enough, I had enough officers to be able to bring him to Manila.
因为我过去的时候，因为暂时是没办法嘛，然后身上的手机、什么联系方式啊，然后贵重物品都被公司收走了。然后也是有培训了差不多1个星期左右，然后那时候就拿了工作机，然后再想办法自救嘛。因为如果那时候就抱着那种心态，反正就是怎么样都是死，是吧？然后就试一下嘛，那时候用了ascent嘛，然后联系了马来西亚家人，然后给我找了渠道，给我联系上了那个马来西亚大使馆。
I got a call from the police attaché of Malaysia. He informed me of Dylan, who was being held against his will inside Bamban. So now I had 2 embassies who were seeking my assistance. I was able to apply for a search warrant. I got the warrant at 5:20 p.m. on March 12. So we ran into Bamban immediately after that. Unfortunately, the operating unit, the Philippine National Police, were not there yet. And around 8:30 in the evening, they told me they were 1 or 2 hours away. To be honest, at that time, I felt very nervous already because any hour or 2 of delay will probably compromise the operation. And indeed, I was correct.
Ayun, may hinahabol kami. Mga tumakas na Chinese.
突然间我就看了很多公司的很多那业务员，他们就出去了。那时候我还是有保持联系，就是跟我们马来西亚的那个大使馆保持联系，就是说他也有问到这个问题，然后那时候就觉得可能也是在附近了。到晚上差不多12点多，然后就给我发了消息，就是给我说了一个准备嘛。
Chances are someone tipped them off. When we arrived there, people were moving out. We were less than 15. So I just informed my personnel to just draw their guns and make sure that nobody got out of the compound. While our group was on this side of the fence, the big bosses, their families were here. So they were here, we were here, a wall separated us. You could only imagine the tension.
来载很多员工很多车啊，还有警车，你没看到吗？门口有警车啊。
The big boss was seated here, so he walked all the way here. He viewed the CCTV of what was happening outside while we were grouping outside for the operation.
我们组在老讲第一个行业嘛。
They escaped. The big boss never to be seen again.
Oh, 1点左右，我就外面就听到喊，这里当地警察，就让出来排队啊，也流了泪，然后就感觉很感动，就是说感谢。你再待里面的话就不懂，到时候就是有什么发生，是吧？
This was the brain center of all the operations. Everything was conjured here. Downstairs, you would see an underground tunnel. They had very expensive wine here. And I guess Chinese herbal teas, concoctions of different sorts. And this would lead to the underground tunnel. That's the door to the underground tunnel. They had some sort of a panic room.
Sabi-sabi yung POGO, yun nga raw yung mga bidding dyan. Pero wala kaming alam sa mga ginagawa nila.
Nuli pala. Alam namin legal yan. Yung pala, kaya ganun kami
The scam center at Bamban was so big, it covered several hectares of farmland. The police arrested many criminals, but some of the masterminds escaped. The investigation also took a surprising turn.
Andito naman tayo ngayon umaga sa pwesto ng ating kumpare, si Paring Sunday.
The electric provider of the area, personnel came in, gave to the guard a electric bill. The bill is in the name of Mayor Alice Guo. I had to ask, why is the name in the name of the mayor? Sir, it's been like that for so many years now. I said, tang! It opened the Pandora's box.
As the investigations unfolded, more and more questions became evident about her background.
Kumakain ka ba ng gulay?
The Senate hearing that was called to investigate the specific case of Bamban Tarlac was in May 2024. And then Mayor Alice Guo was invited to the hearing as a resource person. A lot of times of the hearings, I sit right at the back of Senator Ontiveros and I assist her.
Ano po ba yung source of funds ninyo?
Ako po ay isang hog raiser po.
Taon-taon po magkano ang kinikita sa hog raising business?
Ang kinikita po namin ngayon po, medyo hindi po siya stable po. Gawa po ng may ASF po ngayon. Fluctuating po yung presyo po ng baboy po.
As the Senate hearing went on, more evidence piled up about how close Alice Guo was to the scam compound. Apart from purchasing the farmland that became the scam compound building, she also helped incorporate the company. And it was a shock that many of the co-founders were Chinese.
Sino mga kaibigang ito na tumulong sa inyo na tumakbong mayor at manalo?
Mga kaibigan ko po na sa hog racing din po.
Nasa hog racing or nasa Baofu?
Nasa hog racing po. Wala po sa Baofu po, Your Honor. Hindi po kami involved in any POGO operation po, Your Honor.
That day of the hearing, I was very surprised to get a phone call from somebody who worked in intelligence services in the Philippines. This person said, "We don't think she's Filipino." And at the time, I was aghast and I couldn't believe it. How can somebody have the chutzpah to run for mayor and make a declaration of citizenship if she lied about it?
At saan pala po kayo ipinanganak? Sa ospital ba? Sa bahay ba? Sa lying-in clinic ba?
Your Honor, ang sinabi po sa akin sa bahay po.
Sa bahay. Saan po yung bahay ninyo nung ipinanganak kayo?
Hindi ko na po, Your Honor, hindi ko na po alam. Opo.
Still, out of more than curiosity, saan po kayo nagtapos ng elementary?
Homeschool po ako, Your Honor. Kasi salo po kami ng farm.
So, saang homeschool provider naka-connect yung teacher ninyo?
Your Honor, hindi ko na po maalala po yung pangalan po.
We were so incredulous. I think when I say we, I mean the entire country watching it, because it is not possible to forget these basic questions of your childhood and your early life.
People just realized that they just got to know her from her high school days. But the past before high school, it was blank.
Our suspicions were up given the way that she answered the questions, and that convinced us to dig further. She also presented a birth certificate identifying her father as Filipino, her mother as Filipino, having a date of marriage. So to our great surprise, we found out that not only were her parents never married, but there is also no record of them.
So, Mayor Guo, why were you also inconsistent about your father? Ano ba talaga ang citizenship ng ama mo?
Siya po ay isang Chinese. Ang tatay ko po ay isang Chinese passport holder.
Who is your mother?
At the age of 12 po, Ma'am Karen, nalaman ko po na siya po ay kasambahay po ng first wife ng dad ko po. Isa lang po ang passport ko po. Ako po ay isang Filipino.
The biggest question many Filipinos had at the time, was it really her? So young, so innocent looking, could be capable of hid so many crime behind her facade.
And then evidence of her wealth started coming in, about her luxury cars, her jewelry, even the clothes that she wore came into scrutiny. We wanted to dig deeper into how she was able to amass so much wealth. So we requested the incorporation documents of Alice Guo's various companies. In one of those companies, Baofu, listed incorporators are the names Sang Ruijin and Lin Baoyin. And to our great surprise, when we Googled the names, we found out about the ongoing case in Singapore about them, and that it was described as the largest money laundering case in Singapore.
All the criminals convicted for that case, they were all hailed from Fujian, China, just like Alice Guo.
Madam Chair, ang tatay ko po ay Chinese.
Okay, siya ay Chinese. So, taga saan po siya sa China?
Taga Fujian po.
Investigators found many of Alice Guo's financial transactions very unusual. More than $200 million flow to bank accounts associated with her. We learned that a lot of the money went to China.
Then suddenly, the most absolute confirmation came.
The claim of Bamban Tarlac Mayor Alice Guo that she's a Filipino shattered after the National Bureau of Investigation confirmed that her fingerprint is the same as Chinese national Guo Huaping. Based on government records, Guo Huaping is a Chinese national who entered the Philippines on January 12, 2003 when she was 13 years old.
Mayor Alice Guo was indeed a Chinese little girl who entered the Philippines. So her entire identity and history was completely fabricated.
Ang pakiramdam po ng mga tao dito, nagalit doon sa dahil alam nila, hindi naman sila naniniwala na ganun tao si Alice. Kahit ako, hindi ako naniniwala na Chinese siya.
Parang inano lang siya. Parang pinagtulong-tulungan lang siya sa Senado. Medyo pag ini-interview niya sa TV, napapahiyak nga kami. Naawa kami sa kanya.
Senator Lisa wanted to invite her to a third hearing, but she did not attend, and then she was no longer available in Bamban.
Dismissed Bamban Mayor Alice Guo, otherwise known as Chinese national Guo Huaping, left the Philippines in July.
Who allowed this travesty to happen?
Complete outrage and disbelief that she had managed to escape, that she had managed to go past our borders. President Marcos ordering a manhunt for her.
After weeks of search, dismissed Bamban Tarlac Mayor Alice Guo arrested in Indonesia.
Let this serve as a warning to those who attempt to evade justice. The arm of the law is long, and it will reach you.
After she was sent back to the Philippines, she was charged with human trafficking and money laundering. She denied everything.
Just one last time on this very simple, fundamental question. Ikaw ba si Guo Huaping?
Madam Chair, hindi ko po kino-confirm at may kaso na po sa akin sinampa. Sasagutin ko po sa korte po. Meron lang din po talaga na safety concern po sa sarili ko po, na security concern po, na death threat po na minigay po sa akin. Kaya hindi ko lang po ma-discuss po sa public po.
while it was at its most popular, this documentary came out where the testimony of one She Zijiang was featured.
She Zijiang was a businessman, and he allegedly ran a very big scam compound at the border of Myanmar and Thailand. He was arrested in Bangkok at the request of the Chinese government, who also wants him deported back to China.
She Zijiang made the claim that he was in communication with Guo Huaping and that, like him, she was planted in the Philippines by the Chinese government to basically be their agent, to gather intelligence.
郭海平跟我是不可信的，我们两个你看一下，曾经都为这个国安部卖命，你看看我的下场。要想不被灭口呢，就把真相呢，就告诉全世界。
So far, Alice Guo has denied allegation that she is a Chinese spy, but there's a Filipino intelligence agency called her an agent of influence. And the Philippine military chief accused China of using POGO as a way to infiltrate the Philippine society. But so far, no one can find conclusive evidence that Alice Guo is a Chinese spy.
This is not over yet. Alice Guo is not it all. If we continue going through the documents, chances are we'll find some bigger fish to fry.
The grave abuse and disrespect to our system of laws must stop. Kailangan nang itigil ang panggulo nito sa ating lipunan at paglalakastangan sa ating bansa. Effective today, all POGOs are banned.
Alice Guo was the Pandora's box that needed to happen for us to be able to totally ban POGOs. I'm not saying they're not in the Philippines anymore, because they are still here.
Alice Guo is emblematic of a larger problem within the region. What is the involvement of immigration? What is the involvement of law enforcement? What is the involvement of even the highest officers of government? And I think those are hard questions that the region has to ask.
Kung tumakbo siya, iboboto na. Marami naman siyang natulungan sa mga bamban.
Malampasan niya lahat. Tandang problema. Talagang gugustuhin ko rin na makababalik sa Bamban si Madam Alice. Hindi lang mayor, baka kung talagang magtatagal siya rito, baka congressman o gobernur, haabutin niya.
I-share, bibigay sa mga hindi katulad ng iba, sa kanila lang. Pero kasi hindi. Kung Chinese siya, iboboto ko.